What's up? All right, man. I thought I'd get a quick stream in right quick. All right. I was checking out Fanon, listening to him and Drew Titan talk. So they got their show going on, so I'm not gonna stay too long. So, I just wanted to give my take on Devin Haney and the Canelo situation and Bud, in his upcoming fight with Kell Brook, which is, 6 days from now. All right, so let me let me begin with Canelo. Now, the news is that, of course, Canelo is a free agent, but it appears that Canelo is headed towards the PBC way. He's gonna, cross that side of the street. And basically, now, from my knowledge, nothing set in stone, but he will be fighting December 19th against opponent to be named pretty soon. Most people say it's Caleb Plant. And I find it very interesting that Canelo would take a fight like that because Caleb Plant is not a gimme. But at the end of the day, that'll be a great scrap, But Canelo's gonna be, from what I heard, on a fight by fight basis, no 3 fight deal, no none of that. It's gonna be a fight by fight basis. And that also gives him wiggle room to basically, if he wants to go to the other side, which is, do some fights with Top Rank, you know, that would open up the opportunity. At the end of the day, Canelo don't need a promoter because Canelo is his own promoter. He has Canelo Promotions and he has a couple of fighters under his wing. It appears that Ryan Garcia will be coming soon. So, at the end of the day, Canelo is, I got to give him credit. He in boss mode. At the end of the day, he controlling his own destiny. I had no problem with a person controlling their own destiny. Basically, he doing pretty much what, Floyd did when Floyd got from under Top Rank. And that's just basically the bottom line. And I can't knock him for that. So that's cool on Canelo's part. He doing his thing. So, I'll talk about it later on, probably go into deep detail, about Canelo coming to the PBC. But Canelo's going exclusively, more than likely, fight on Showtime. So I will say this much. I'll do a solo video about Steven Espinosa, and I'll say this much: Steven Espinosa and Showtime, they made a huge, gigantic step into pretty much saving boxing on Showtime because a lot of people felt like they was losing big fights to Showtime, losing big fights to Fox. And then with that happening, people question how long would Showtime be in the boxing business? Would they be headed to HBO land? So I think Steven Espinosa to land Canelo for some pay-per-view and pay-per-view fights only, that speaks volume on his effort to, keep boxing on Showtime. And one thing I can say about Steven Espinosa, I like Steven Espinosa. Like I said, he's a good dude. First of all, whenever you request an interview with somebody, he gives you an interview whenever you ask for it. At the end of the day, you got to show some loyalty and you got to show some love back. Once again, like I said, um, I got love for Leo Santa Cruz because, like I said before, Leo Santa Cruz never denied me an interview. And the same thing with Steven Espinosa. He's never denied me an interview. So, I give him thumbs up for, you know, working this deal to bring Canelo back to Showtime. So, cool on his part. What's up? Well, um, I'm gonna talk about that later about Al Heyman and Canelo, um, their relationship. Because I do have my worries about that because I feel like he catered to Manny Pacquiao more than he did the people that had been with PBC since its inception. So we know that Canelo is Canelo at the end of the day. Now that he's back on pay per view, you can promote him better than you can with him fighting on an app. I told you that the zone thing wasn't going to work. I predicted that Canelo wouldn't finish that contract. I knew it was coming. So none of this stuff surprised me. I was one of the very first people screaming that Canelo would leave the zone and Golden Boy like probably by year's end, and that he was gonna want out of that contract with Golden Boy and the zone. So I'm not tooting my own horn, but I knew this was coming. Like I said, I was the very first person that predicted that HBO. I predicted way back, I think in um 2016, that HBO would be out of the boxing business because due to the fact they ran Al Heyman off, and then due to the fact that they went out of their way to promote anybody but a Black American fighter, and it backfired. So it is what it is. I'm gonna talk about. I'm gonna get to Devin Haney, and I'm gonna talk about Devin Haney just in 1 second. Like I said, I'm gonna wrap up this Canelo thing. So yeah, is people concerned about Al Heyman like basically putting the people that's been loyal to the soil to the back burner for Canelo? I think there's a possibility that that is going to happen at the end of the day. Um, Canelo, now that he's coming back to pay per view, he's gonna have that drawing power. But you have to put him in the ring with the right opponent. You know, I don't think there's a fighter that just got so much drawing power they could just fight Joe Blow and a million people tune in to see it. It has to be the right opponent. Keep in mind, you know, um, Floyd Mayweather fought Andre Berto, and some people considered it a pay per view disappointment, but he still managed to get 500,000 people to buy that pay per view. But they considered it a disappointment based off the fact that he was coming off 4 million pay per view buys with Manny Pacquiao. Oh, appreciate that. So like I said, I'll pay close attention to this Canelo thing, but keep in mind Canelo is going to do a fight by fight basis with the PBC. But I guess whenever he fights on a PBC card, he is going to be number one, numero uno, you know, the priority. And I get it. I get it. But I do have to say this about Al Heyman the same way that I've held Top Rank accountable and I've called out other promotional companies. At the end of the day, you gotta promote these black fighters, because I'm gonna say something that a lot of people don't want to say before I move on. I'm tired of I'm serious. I'm tired of these black and brown matchups. And I have to say this was patented by Floyd and Al Heyman. Like I say, blacks will pay to see blacks fight. You know, so that's the problem that I have. And I'm not afraid to say that. I don't give a damn about people being offended by what I have to say. I'm tired of seeing these black and brown matchups. You can have matchups between two brothers and it'll do just as well in pay-per-view sales. You don't think Bud versus Errol Spence gonna do like 7, 8, maybe even 900,000 to a million pay-per-view buys if that fight happens? So I'm just saying, I gotta put that out there. I just gotta say this because like I said, I'm not finna sit up here and be sucking up to Al Heyman. Like I say, the same way I call everybody out, that's not a black promoter, I gotta call Al Heyman out, even though Al Heyman ain't technically a promoter, but still, he plays a big role in getting fights made. And I want to see some brothers get some paydays now. I want to see some brothers fight. Because at the same time, you like I said, we would buy a Tank versus Gary Russell Jr. fight. Tank versus Gary Russell Jr. would do some good numbers. It would be a profitable fight because the diehards and what you would call the people that know boxing, they would buy that fight. We would buy that fight because it's two brothers fighting. And I really think Floyd and Al Heyman, they need to really take a chance and start making those kind of fights, for real. I'm just keeping it 100. This gotta be said. This gotta be said. Like I said, I'm not politically correct. I don't mind. I don't mind, like, I don't mind people being mad, but it gotta be said. Yeah, the biggest fight in boxing that can be made right now is Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. Now I know, due to the fact that I know that there are some people that's, for some apparent reason, they hoping that Kell Brook win this fight. And like I said, this is where a lot of people contradict themselves and shit. But I know Kell Brook is quote unquote a brother, but he's from the UK. But at the end of the day, the mission is to get Bud versus Errol Spence. That's the mission, to get that fight made. That's a fight for us. You know what I'm saying? That's a fight for us to be celebrating two of the best black fighters on the planet locking horns. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who wins. It's not the end of the world if Bud loses. It's not the end of the world if Errol Spence loses. Sugar Ray Leonard lost fights. Larry Holmes lost fights. You know what I'm saying? Thomas Hearns lost fight. Marvin Hagler lost fights. And they went on to be Muhammad Ali lost fights. Mike Tyson lost fights. Lennox Lewis lost fights. And went on to become some of the best boxers that ever lived. Everybody can't be Andre Ward. Everybody can't be Andre Ward. Everybody can't be Floyd Mayweather. That can go their whole career without losing a fight. Well, I mean, it don't matter. It don't matter who you think gonna win. At the end of the day, we just want the fight to be made. Now, like I say, Bud got a difficult task in front of him, but at the end of the day, I think he'll get the job done. Yeah, well, Roberto Duran. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. But I don't want to like really bring Roberto Duran into the equation because he not black. So I mean, he Panamanian and Mexican. So at the end of it, but I get what you're saying. Trust me, I get what you're saying. But let me move on to Devin Haney. Let me move on to Devin Haney. Okay, you know, uh different opinions about what happened with the fight. I saw some things I liked in Devin Haney. I saw some things that I didn't like. But for the most part, no, I'm gonna talk about that Bomac. I'm gonna talk about Bomac before I end this stream. Trust me, I'm gonna get to that. But I'm gonna get to Devin Haney. I know a lot of people had mixed reviews about the performance. I didn't see nothing wrong with Devin Haney's performance. At the end of the day, he's still 21. There's still some things that he need to learn. Tank is still learning some things. Here's the thing. Like I said, Tank versus Devin Haney it's still an intriguing fight because at the end of the day, Tank still don't have the footwork that that Devin Haney has. I think if Devin, here's the thing that people need to understand when you watch the fight versus Gamboa. Gamboa was in survival mode pretty much from beginning to end. He knew that he couldn't get knocked out. At the end of the day, he was doing a lot of tugging. He tried to lift Devin Haney up. You know, every time Devin Haney started cracking him, he would hold. Keep in mind, he got penalized for extensive holding. I think the only thing Devin Haney needs to learn how to do is learn how to walk a guy down and corner a dude. He needs to do better at that. Because at the end of the day, it's gonna be certain styles where you're not gonna be able to keep the fight in the middle of the ring. But that's about it. I mean, if you really watch that fight, he did what he needed to do. I don't think nothing was wrong with the way he fought. Like I said, it's the type of opponent. I guarantee you, he fights somebody like Rolly, where it's not gonna be very much movement. He gonna be able to tee off on a guy like Rolly and possibly stop him. You know, keep in mind, remember Tank got a 12th round stoppage versus Gamboa. Now, Gamboa did win some rounds versus Tank, where on most of the cards with Devin Haney pretty much won every round. I thought Devin Haney pitched a shutout. I thought I had him winning every round. I watched it with my stepdad. My stepdad gave Gamboa one round. And that's something else. Devin Haney is not a KO artist. He's a boxer. And like I said, there's some things that he can work on. Because like I said, keep in mind, Devin Haney is only 21. He's still learning. And like I say, Tank is still learning. Tiafimo is still learning. They haven't like reached a peak. There's still things that they all could learn. Because all of them got flaws. Garcia got flaws. Tank got flaws. You know, Devin Haney got flaws. Tiafimo got flaws. You know, I think Devin Haney, what he need to work on, like I said, is trying to fight a little bit, trying to fight better on the inside because he got the reach, he got the footwork, he got he know how to maneuver, he know how to use angles. But I think, like I said, when you fight a guy like Tank or Ryan Garcia, a fight like that, or Tiafimo, a fight like that is going to be possibly won fighting on the inside, and that's just something that Devin need to work on. But like I said, besides that, I give his performance, like I said, a A. Like I said, Gamboa was in survival mode. So, like I said, there's some things excuse me, it's some things that Devin can work on. Cause like I said, keep in mind he's only 21 years old. He wanted the stoppage. Some Yeah, that that's absolutely correct. I don't think Devin, like I said, I don't think Devin has like grown into his man body yet. Like I still think that as he get older, I think his power is going to enhance. Cause like I said, he still need to work on some things. Like he still he still haven't learned how to like sit on his punches. So like I said, it's still learning on the job. I mean, for people to say that it's over, I mean, or he's food, he ain't like I said, all of those young fighters have flaws. All of them, all of those young guns, Ryan Garcia, Tiafimo, Tank, Devin, they all have flaws, things that they can work on and improve on. But like I said, I want Devin to fight Broly. that's that's what I want. Yeah, Tiafimo, that's the funny part. I think Tiafimo Lopez realized, even though Tiafimo in that 10th round, it looked like Tiafimo was about to shut it down and like give up. It looked like Lomachenko might was gonna be on the verge of getting a late stoppage, but Tiafimo he pulled it together and he finished strong like the last round. And then he looked like he was on the verge of stopping Lomachenko. But Tiafimo, had he really like tried to bring the fight to Lomachenko, he probably would have got a stoppage earlier in that fight. But he won the fight. Hands down, he won the fight. Well, like I said, shit, I'm gonna call Bill. Like, they probably they probably on their way home. Like, I'm gonna text Bill. I'm gonna tell them Rolly is the fight they should try to make. If not, Rolly for Tuna. I think that's the perfect fight. I think that's the perfect fight for Devin to display his boxing skills. And I think after a while, if he don't get, I think after a while, I think Devin could pick Rolly apart, and I think he might could stop him. And Rolly says he wants to fight, so let's make that fight. I don't think Floyd. I would hope Floyd don't have a problem with like making that fight. I hope that they can negotiate to where they can, you know what I'm saying, that fight could be made. I think if they offer Rolly enough money, I think Floyd will let him fight on the zone. Or something could be worked out where Devin could fight on Showtime or something. Maybe they could do a purse bid. But I feel like that'll be another good fight for Rolly fighting another young fighter, fighting a slugger like Rolly. Now Rolly could pop. He's dangerous. Now, if he lands something, he can have meaningful. Devin, Mike could be in trouble, but then that would also be a test to see how good Devin's will to win is. You know, will he fold or will he, maintain? So I like that fight a lot. I like Devin versus Rolly a lot. I really think that should be the next fight for Devin, and it should be able to be able to get made. Yeah, he always go. Yeah, Rolly have a he have a puncher's chance. Every fighter have a puncher's chance if they can land that punch. That is absolutely correct. Everybody got it. I mean, for real, every puncher have a puncher's chance if he can land that punch. You know, because go back to Michael Nunn versus James Toney. Michael Nunn was I felt like he was winning that fight going away, and James Toney caught him late, and James Toney was able to get the stoppage, and that was. And keep in mind, Michael Nunn was considered pound for pound best fighter on the planet. He was considered, the best fighter on the planet at one time. And for James Toney to pull that off in a fight that he was trailing, he was losing that fight, and he caught him, and he finished him. You know what I would do with Rolly? Rolly, Rolly, like he has this bad habit of loading up. He Rolly loads up a lot, so you can see his punches coming when he getting ready to throw a punch. So what I would do with Devin, every time I saw Rolly like rolling, like you know what I'm saying, loading up, I jab him. I hit him with a power jab, and then I try to come over the top with a straight left. I just beat Rolly to the punch. And then, by the time he would try to let off some of his punches, I'd be already out the way. I mean, Rolly, you can I'm serious. A good fighter would time that. Rolly versus Gamboa. You know the funny part about that? Depending on how motivated Gamboa is, Gamboa might could give Rolly fits as long as he don't get caught. He might could give Rolly fits because Gamboa still could box. He still could box and he still got a little pop to his punches. I'm telling you, Rolly, like if I was Devin, every time I saw Rolly loading up, man, I'd throw some combinations on his ass. And that's all Jackson Martinez was doing. Jackson Martinez, that's all he was doing was beating him to the punch and then resetting. Now, when Rolly would actually try to box, he would do okay. But then Rolly relies so much on trying to knock you out. Like I said, that's going to be his downfall. A lot of times when people strictly rely on trying to knock you out, they end up getting knocked out. Like I said, that was Julian Jackson's biggest problem. Julian Jackson strictly only wanted to knock everybody out that he fought, which for the most part he did. But the thing is, with Julian Jackson, his flaws was he was chinny. Every fight that Julian Jackson lost, he lost via stoppage. He never lost going the distance. He always got stopped. So basically, with Julian Jackson, it was you better get him before he gets you. Everybody knows that. That's why Jared McCullen had such a success against him. And then you look at Mike McCallum, they would jump on him. Yeah, you was taking a big chance. You was taking a big chance. Ask Terry Norris. Terry Norris was feeling himself. He got a little too, you know what I'm saying? He got a little too, he got a little too petite in that fight and he ended up getting caught. And then he got his ass slumped. And that's who Rolly kind of remind me of, but Rolly ain't as good as Julian Jackson. Julian Jackson could box a little bit, but like I said, he strictly relied on trying to knock you out because he could hit like a motherfucker. And I guess when you used to like flatlining people, I guess you like shit. Who the hell needs to box when I can just knock somebody out? But that's not always the way to go. As a boxer, you should always prepare to go the distance. If the knockout presents itself, yeah, you should always take it. Cause it do come a time where you should try to finish a guy versus trying to go the distance. It really comes down to, the moment of the fight. When you can, when should you go for the stoppage or should you just, like boxing is real finicky. It's just real, it's funny. The fights that you really want the knockouts, you can't get it. And then the fights that you prepare to go the distance, sometimes you can stop the person. I thought Paul Williams and Sergio Martinez too was gonna go the distance. I thought they was gonna slug it out for 12 rounds and it was gonna be another, classic fight. And unfortunately, Paul Williams he got caught. He got caught with a punch he didn't see. And the funny part about it was, I'm not gonna call it a lucky punch, but Sergio Martinez turned and threw that punch. He didn't even know it was gonna land. But Paul Williams sometimes had a bad habit of sticking his face out when he throwing punches, leaving his face open the counter. And Sergio Martinez must have saw the tape, and he was like, okay, he got a bad habit of leaving his face sticking out when he throwing punches. So if I time it, and he turned and he threw that left, and it landed flush. And I'm talking about it was lights out for Paul Williams. Lights out. He hit him so hard to where his eyes was open and he was knocked out at the same time. He literally knocked him out. And I mean, he caught him flush too. And it wasn't nothing you could do. But that's what I'm saying. It come down to the moment. But I really am going to push for Rolly versus Devin Haney. Rolly say he want the smoke, so let Devin Haney light it up. So let's hope Floyd make this fight so we can see it. All right, so let me get to Bomac right quick, and let me get to Bomac right quick, and then I'm gonna end this stream. You know, it was funny. Kell Brook was on Trill Talks. Shout out to Kell Brook, shout out to K Ho, shout out to 7-8. They did the interview, and it was funny, right? I didn't get a chance to listen to most of the interview because I had a lot of shit to do. But I looked through my phone. I say, man, let me call Bomac. Let me see, can I get Bomac on here? And Bomac, sometimes he hit me, sometimes he don't. So, so I hit Bomac, and I asked Bomac, did he want to come on the show? So yeah, so we set it up. He had to do an interview with ESPN, and shout out to Bomac for being a man of his word. You know, he wanted to do it we were supposed to do it today, but I told Bomac I got to go to work today. So, Bomac agreed to do it like yesterday. And he, first I was getting my equipment set up to like do the interview. And once again, shout out to Bomac for being a man of his word. He did an interview. He said I had to do this interview with ESPN first, but I'm gonna call you back. And Bomac called me back. So we got it cracking. So, we got it cracking. And I want y'all to understand something about the Bud situation. Like I said, don't get wrapped up in that Bud not talking to the media thing. At the end of the day, he is his own person. I'm not gonna keep dwelling on that shit about him not talking to black media. Like I said, it bothers me, but I'm not gonna like keep making a big deal out of it, because at the end of the day, I'm gonna let y'all in on a little secret though. Bud, don't be surprised if you do see Bud on my show. So I'm just saying, don't be surprised if you see Bud on my show. Bud watches my videos. So, you know what I'm saying? Don't be surprised if he shows up on here. We working on it. We working on it. So, we working on it. So I'm just telling y'all that right now. Don't be surprised if Bud shows up out of nowhere. So, like I said, Bomac, he hit me back. Like I said, I appreciate a dude that's a man of their word. So, he hit me back. We did the interview. Yeah, he do. He do. He not caught up in the Hollywood thing. He just, you know, he not worried about being a star or none of that stuff. He just want to fight. He just want to fight, just like Marshawn Lynch. He just really want to play. He just really wanted to play football, and the same thing with Kawhi Leonard. But at the end of the day, you kind of gotta like it's a tip for tap thing. At the end of the day, you gotta give a little something, because at the end of the day, we just as media people, we just doing our job. Like I said, anybody that know me, I don't try to bombard nobody. I ask tough questions, but at the end of the day, I don't try to disrespect nobody. whoever saw the interview, I asked Bomac straight up. I said, "Is this Bud's last fight on Top Rank?" And I was satisfied with the answer that Bomac gave me. They pretty much hinting that other opportunities is going to present himself. So if it means them, going to going to PBC, then so be it. Because at the end of the day, something going on to where you just can't get certain fights made. At the end of the day, we all know it's a well documented grudge between Bob Arum and Al Heyman. Like I said, to a certain degree, I don't. I understand that Al Heyman has an issue with Bob Arum because Bob Arum got him, allegedly kicked off HBO. And, at the end of the day, they feel like a fight with Bud versus Errol Spence, a fight of that magnitude, they don't want Bob Arum to make no money off of it. So basically, they're going to stall the fight out. Bomac addressed everything. He addressed the issue of whether they trying to age Bud out for the Errol Spence fight. Y'all need to check it out. I don't know if Al Heyman required you to do more interviews if you with the PBC, but we may be about to find out shortly, depending on what happens this coming Saturday. But like I said, but like I said, I'm not finna keep dwelling on the Bud thing. But Bomac, he a real dude. So at the end of the day, if you have an issue with Bud, at least respect Bomac because I'm telling you, I vouch for Bomac. You know, because Bomac a real dude. We talked about some shit outside of boxing. Before we even started the interview, we was talking before we even you know what I'm saying started the interview. We had talked 10 minutes before we even started like recording. And Bomac told me some real shit. You know, who knows? If ever I have the opportunity, maybe I'll go to Omaha. Bomac said I could come to the gym. Where all the dudes train at, where Bud is always at the gym. So who knows? Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that, man. I really do. Yeah, Bomac, he's solid. He's solid. I don't have nothing bad to say about Bomac. Hey, Jamal, man, listen, dude. Like we having a cool conversation, bro. Don't fuck it up by being a Errol Spence nut hugger. Now, I mean, for real, we gonna have a dope conversation. If not, bro, I'm gonna have somebody block you. And I'm serious. This is your first and only warning. Like for real. No Errol Spence nut hugging, no PBC nut hugging. We talking like adults, we talking like boxing fans. Respect my outlet, bro. You know, or you can go somewhere else with that. I'm just keeping it 100. I'm asking you nicely. Respect my platform, bro. For real. Respect my platform. I'm gonna have somebody block you. No Errol Spence, PBC nut hugging on my channel. Well, one thing I could say about Bomac though, they all workhorses. Now, are they as good as Bud? Probably not, but they are committed to the boxing thing. They, you know what I'm saying? For real. Bud don't, Bud for the most part, he go to the gym, he work out, he take care of his business, which I knew anyway. Bud has some mishaps, earlier in his career, but you live and you learn. So like I said, um so like I said, man, I'm root for them to take care of Kell Brook. Kell Brook is a big hurdle because Kell Brook is big as fuck. You know, he big. He's big. That's why That's why Kell Brook was able to touch Triple G up and do some damage to him. Like I said, I think if Kell Brook I think if Kell Brook had more experience at 154 and 160, who knows what would have happened with him and Triple G. But at the end of the day, he made his mark fighting at 147. So I'm just saying. Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. But one thing about Bud though, when you knock Bud down, he wake up. Or when you have him in trouble, he wake up. But I think Bud is gonna be really motivated for this fight. This look, let's not pretend Kell Brook didn't have some success against Errol Spence. Errol Spence had got the stoppage, but he gave Errol Spence a real good fight into the stoppage. Errol Spence was able to like wear him down and oppose his will in the later, the later rounds, and he got the stoppage. And I think Bud is gonna be similar. I look, let's not pretend that Kell Brook is not gonna have his moments. But I got Bud winning this fight. I think it's gonna be a fight that if it was on pay-per-view, we gonna get our money's worth. I think we gonna be talking about this fight. For real. I think we gonna be talking about this fight. Y'all already know I'm going live, so I mean, y'all already know. We gonna chop it up, man. We gonna have man. This is a like I said, this is a good fight. My thing is, if he can stop Kell Brook, if he can stop him, once again at 147, Bud will have stopped everybody he's fought. Nah, man, nobody. Don't listen, Kobe. Don't listen to none of these dudes that's trying to downplay this fight. Don't listen to none of these dudes. At the end of the day, they what you call nut huggers. Nah, this is a good fight. Like I said, keep in mind anybody that's listening to this stream, everybody begged Bud to fight Kell Brook. Everybody begged him to take this fight, so he took it. So nobody can say nothing about him fighting Kell Brook. They begged him to take this fight. People said, "Oh, well, if he don't take this fight, this proves nothing for him as a welterweight, a legit welterweight." So you can't pull that. Oh, well, Kell Brook, this happened to Kell Brook, that happened. No, no, I'm not gonna let people get away with that. You're not gonna come on here and pull that shit with me. Nah, you're not gonna get away with that because you demanded Bud take this fight, so he took it. So it's no, we're not listening. We're not listening to that. We're not listening to that. I'm not even gonna pay attention to nobody that's gonna try to pull that stuff. Bud get full credit if he wins this fight. Because one, if he can, let's just say he can stop Kell Brook, or let's just say he dominate Kell Brook, he knock him down multiple times, he beat the hell out of him and get he have his way with Kell Brook, and he do everything except get the stoppage. Well, like I said before, then that really has fans clamoring for Bud versus Errol Spence. You know, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you right now. If Bud and Errol Spence can get made, I'm going to that fight. I don't give a damn where it is. If it's in Atlanta, I'm going to Atlanta. If it's in Florida, I'm going to Florida. If it's in Dallas, I'm going to Dallas. If it's in Vegas, I'm going to Vegas. That's one fight I'm gonna be at. Nah, Kobe, we not accepting no excuses. I'm not accepting that. I'm not going for it. We not accepting excuses. So so just tune in. All right, you guys. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all tuning in. I'll probably do another live stream, maybe on my way to work. But thanks for tapping in. Thanks for the support. Appreciate it.